fallout, smoke, women crying for their sons because their sons are not, Romans killing riotous groups that are rising up. Free Judea, free our people, autonomy for Israel. You had Herod, an Edomite, and his dynasty. Herod's ruling, killing any potential threat, any potential Messiah. Then you had the Pharisees and the Sadducees that we learn from Josephus are not Jews by birth. No. It said, thou that dwells in the clefts of the rock. Whoa, I know a lot of y'all know about the Caucasus Mountains. Let's just let the word speak. Let's go to verse 4. Though you exalt yourself as the eagle, and though you set thy nest among the stars. What's up, Zion Dynasty? Yes! This is your favorite dreaded Israelite, the man, the myth, and the legend, Mr. JB Zion. Y'all, welcome back to the channel, family. Welcome back to Zion Dynasty, where yours truly, I'm back in the fringe of the flesh, about to hit y'all with another bang. All glory, honor, dominion, and power to the Most High, Iye, Ashe, Iye, the Redeemer of Jacob, the Restorer of the 12 tribes of Israel, the Mighty One of Yaakov. All glory, honor, and dominion to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. Family, y'all, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be an explosive, historical, prophetic, eschatological journey of legend, family. We're going to go into it as you guys saw in the title, as you guys saw on the thumbnail. Mashiach ben Yosef, right? Over this journey, family, of us teaching of this channel of Zion Dynasty, showing these nuggets of who we are, connecting that to Northern Kingdom, connecting that to the so-called lost tribes via the oral tradition of the Yoruba. There has been a lot of research that the Most High has been giving me, a lot of scholarship that I have been engaging with to solidify this revelation that the Most High has been showing on this channel to you all, and to prove why knowing that we are Israel is so important, family. Knowing who we are is more than half of the battle, right? We're no longer so-called black spicks, cartoons, and coons. That's not who we are, family. The bywords and the proverbs by which the nations have labeled us, thereby stripping us from our heritage, that is no longer acceptable by the Most High, right? We see in the scriptures where the Most High Yah says, in times past, I winked at your ignorance, right? What you don't know can and will destroy you. And when you don't know who you are, you sever the umbilical cord by which your ancestors are able to sustain your very life. And I've taught this a lot on the channel, family, that giving back to the thing that gave you life is the purest form of worship of the Most High Yah. So when the Christian church, when the urban apologist police, when Berean and these brothers try to make the argument that our history does not matter.
That's what the Israelite talking about. Well, you know, Israel done away with, you know, whosoever will, let them come.
That Israel has been fulfilled through the fruition of YESHUA, and that his natural brethren no longer matters according to the flesh. What you are in essence doing is dooming every ethnic descendant of Israel to be in perpetual death. Why do I say that? If you don't know where you come from, you can't know where you're going. A tree without roots is a people that don't know their history, right? And I'm gonna drop another nugget for you guys. Whenever you're learning another person's history, you're giving power to their ancestors, and you're fueling supernatural wisdom into that group of people. I know that sounds deep, that might sound spooky, but when you learn another person's history, you're meditating on who they are, you're fueling their ancestors, because as long as you remember who they are, you're giving them life to give life to their rulership in the earth. Knowing who you are, this stuff is serious, y'all. So the ancestors are with me. All of Ephrati, all of Joseph's tears, and Rachel from the grave is what sustains this work, family. So this is not just Zion Dynasty. This is not just your boy JB. This is not just me. So anybody that comes against this work, you got to go through hundreds of thousands of years of ancestors and tears and blood that has been shed by the Most High Yah to sustain a lineage in the earth realm. You ain't coming against your boy. You coming against the highest CEO in the land, the CEO of creation, the CEO of the cosmos. He he that sits high and looks low, and the earth is his footstool, and heaven can't even contain him, let alone a mere man explain him. That's who you got to go through to deal with, JP. I just wanted to put that out there, because I come not in my own voice, I come not in my own power, but I come in the very spirit that is the Ruach HaKodesh of the Most High, the Ancient of Days, he who was, is, and shall be, King of kings and Lord of lords, Prince of peace and governor, ruler of over each and everything. The angels cry and the angels sing, all praises be to the everlasting King, Ahaya. Right? So all praises be to the Most High Yah for revealing the mystery of Yosef. And that's what we're going to deal with, family. We're going to deal with Joseph, Ephraim, Manasseh, Nephi, Lehi. Y'all hear me? We're going to deal with the noble birthright of the Most High Yah as passed down from Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, watch this, Yosef, and Ephraim, and how that tribe, Israel, being led by Joseph, being led by Ephraim, what role Ephraim through Messiah ben Joseph is going to play in these end times. Now, this is going to be a lot, y'all.
Now, it's possible that this Mashiach ben Yosef had been instrumental before this war in regathering the 10 tribes of the northern kingdom of Israel. We know that in Jewish history, the 10 northern tribes, after the rule of King Solomon, the Jewish nation split into 2 nations. The southern kingdom of Judah and the northern kingdom, it was called the kingdom of Israel, the 10 northern tribes. And we know that they were exiled about 700 BCE by the Assyrians. And they're known as the lost tribes of Israel. We don't know where they are, who they are. But one of the themes of biblical prophecy, one of the themes that the Bible repeats numerous times when it speaks about what's going to be in the times of the Messiah, in this utopian age, one of the themes that is repeated over and over again is that the nation of the Jewish people will be reunited. The tribes of Judah and the tribes of Israel, these 10 tribes will come back. It's quite possible that one of the things that Mashiach ben Yosef will be, as a descendant of Yosef, is that he will be a leader of these peoples that are emerging from the world and coming back and reclaiming their position amongst the Jewish people. You should know, by the way, we have many, many people in the world today that insist they are from the 10 lost tribes. We have a filmmaker from Toronto, Simcha Yakubovich, made a whole movie about the 10 lost tribes.
So that's the Mashiach ben Yosef. As I said, you have the Tanakh that discusses it in its way, and then the Gemara, the Talmud, as I said, in Tractate Sukkah 52b, elaborates on more. But the purpose of Mashiach, he doesn't die for anybody's sins, but rather his death triggers people into repenting, which then fulfills Isaiah 59 verse 20, and now Mashiach can come because the Jews repented. So it is a device that may be necessary in order to bring about the Messianic age. And now you understand Mashiach ben Yosef.
Abdul the king / leader, there's going to be a priest. There will be the prophet Elijah. Put this 3 in your spirit as well. There will be a Davidic king / leader. There's going to be a priest, the prophet Elijah as well. Now, sometime during the late Second Temple period, we see that these people are referred to as messiahs. We find this in the Dead Sea Scroll. Until the prophet comes and the messiahs of Aaron and Israel. Here we see the 3 figures mentioned above: the prophet, the priest of Aaron, and the leader of Israel. Here are 3 messianic type characters in the end of days, in the biblical text, and in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Remember what I said about Ephraim. I said in the passage in Ezekiel, Ephraim and Judah are on the same level, but that Judah would lead. This indicates that both Ephraim and Judah would have leaders.
There are people today in the world from Israel who are working with different tribal groups all over the world that say, we are part of the Jewish people, we want to come home. So this that I'm describing is taking place now. Now, who is this leader from the family of Joseph that's leading them? We don't know who it is. There have been many suggestions. And just like in every generation, we're told, there has to be someone who could become the Davidic Messiah. So in every generation, there has to be someone that could be potentially the Messiah from the house of Joseph. There could be someone today that will become instrumental in bringing back these 10 tribes to the land of Israel. But we're told that after he achieved some success in helping bring back these tribes, there's going to be this terrible attack on the Jewish nation. The Talmudic sources tell us that this Messiah from the house of Joseph will function for 45 years. His involvement in the world stage will last for 45 years, according to most sources, and then he will be serving as the paver of the way for the Davidic Messiah, for the ultimate Messiah King, Mashiach ben David. If you look in the prophet Obadiah, chapter 1, verses 17 to 21, the prophet Obadiah says right here in the middle of the page, on Mount Zion there will be a remnant, and it will be holy, and the house of Jacob will inherit those who had dispossessed them. The house of Jacob will be fire, and the house of Joseph will be a flame, and the house of Esau for straw. And they will ignite them and consume them. And there will be a remnant left to the house of Esau, for Hashem has spoken. And saviors, in the plural, saviors, will ascend Mount Zion to judge Mount Esau, and Hashem will have total dominion. There could be, according to many commentaries here, with this plural term, saviors, redeemers, to the two Messiahs, the Messiah son of Joseph and the Messiah son of David, and they will each play a role. So what is the role of the Messiah son of Joseph? We saw that one of the things he might be involved in doing is helping to regather the exiles. But the Talmud says in Tractate Baba Batra 123b that the progeny of Esau will only be delivered into the hands of the progeny of Joseph. And that's why in this passage in Obadiah it says, who will be the fire to ignite the straw of Esau? It will be the house of Joseph who will be that flame. So for some reason we're told that who is going to fight the wars on behalf of the Jewish people? It's going to be Joseph. And the Talmud says that we have a tradition that the enemies of the Jewish people will only fall to a descendant of Joseph.
Meaning that Rome, Edom, America, that's going to be the last one standing. Meaning that Rome, Edom, America, that's going to be the last one standing. Meaning that Rome, Edom, America, that's going to be the last one standing.
It's interesting that Jacob, our ancestor, only felt comfortable, Rashi points this out, he only felt comfortable finally meeting up with his brother Esau, who he was so afraid of. When did Jacob finally feel he could do it? After the birth of Joseph. And that's why we're told that when Moshe was going to need someone to fight Amalek, who did he choose? He chose YESHUA. YESHUA is from the tribe of Ephraim, who comes from Joseph. And one of the reasons for this is that we have an idea in Jewish literature that the people who will be successful in fighting the wars for the Jewish people will be children who come from the tribes of Rachel. Leah is the mother ultimately of Judah, who was going to be the progenitor of the Mashiach ben David, because David comes from Judah, but that was a descendant of Leah. But what's interesting is, when you look throughout the Bible, and I mentioned there are many times the Bible speaks about the Davidic Messiah, it never speaks about him as a warrior. It never mentions him fighting any battles. But we're taught that the victory against the enemies of the Jewish people will come not from the descendants of Leah, but from the descendants of Rachel. So, for example, who was the first king of Israel who fought Amalek? And Amalek, again, is that symbolic enemy of the Jewish people that wants to wipe us out. The first king was Shaul, who was from Benjamin. Benjamin is the son of Rachel. And in the times of Esther, the person who again was the leader against Amalek, Haman from Amalek, was Mordecai, again from Benjamin. So all of these defenders of the Jewish people against their enemies come from Rachel, from Rachel. And so we have this idea that aside from gathering the exiles to the land of Israel, this Mashiach ben Yosef will be someone who will fight the wars for us. And to a great extent, he will be victorious, but unfortunately, he will not see complete victory, because we're taught that he will be killed in one of the final battles. It could be also that one of the reasons, because it's a good question, why does God have to have two messiahs? Just have one messiah doing everything.
This is going to be a lot, y'all. We're going to go to the book of Jasher. We're going to go to the legend of the Jews. We're going to go through some Christian history, the Inquisition, that Moorish Ephrati history that set the stage for a lot of Yoruba that migrated to the Americas. We're going to deal with Nephi. We're going to deal with all of it, family. So y'all like this video up, comment, share, subscribe, and I love each and every one of y'all. The so-called black, two continents slapped together like a lonely sandwich are in fact the descendants of the biblical Israel, according to Harvard, Cambridge, the Jewish Encyclopedia. Y'all, we already know Deuteronomy 28 that said we would go into slavery on slave cargo ships. Y'all already know the precepts. We're gonna jump into this thing, family, and we're gonna deal with the mystery, the most notorious history, the most notorious mystery in all of Judaism, and I argue, family, the biggest kept secret in the earth is Messiah ben Joseph and Ephraim's role in the latter days. I said that like that for a reason. So we're gonna jump into it, family. First, we're gonna do a review of the prophetic timeline. I promised y'all this, and this is gonna have to be a two-parter. Dealing with Dr. Rudolph R. Windsor and how he gives you a eschatological roadmap. When I say eschatology, I'm talking about end times, right? Eschatology is the study of the end times, end time prophecy. When you talk about the mark of the beast, when you talk about the rapture, when you talk about the millennial age, when you talk about the tribulation age, all of that is deemed in theological terms as eschatology, the study of the end times. Now, Dr. Rudolph R. Windsor does a brilliant job at going through the different key players. Now, I'm going to try to turn to that page, and I'm going to show you guys a beautiful image that he has. If I can find it. Here we go. Now, this is a map that Dr. Rudolph R. Windsor proposes. And I hope you guys can see that pretty well. It goes through the different blocks in the earth. It deals with the king of the south. In regards to the Ptolemies of Egypt and Africa and that kind of thing. It deals with the north, our NATO, the European Union, a lot of them being an extension of the Roman descendants, i.e. Esau, Edom, right? It also talks about the king of the north. This is getting into Russia, Moscow. This is getting into Russia, Gog, Magog, that whole thing. And the east, which is China or Moab, according to prophecy. I just want y'all to see that map. Now, this is a continuation also of the World War III video. Y'all check that out, where we're going through these end time players. That's also why you need to know who you are. Because if you don't know who you are on the chessboard, you don't know what moves you are entitled to make, and you don't know what moves your opponent is making. You need to know who everybody is on the board. That's why we need to know who the nations are. Our people are the only people called a Crayola color, right? I'm not even going to deal with that. We are the only people called a Crayola color. We are called bywords of Proverbs, two continents, right? That's by design, because we are the most important chess piece on the board, the kingdom of the Most High Yah. Now let's deal with this. So in last video on World War III, we talked about the end times. We talked about that last ruling empire. I'm gonna do a quick review of that. Now, in 2nd Esdras chapter 6, verses 6 through 9, we see that the Bible says the word of the Most High, according to Ezra, has revealed to us that Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. One nugget I want to throw out. When you see Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of the world to come, or the world that follows, this shows you that world in that context is talking about an ideological form, a government, a structure, a system, a kingdom, that Esau's rulership, his way of doing things, his critical race theory based society would be the last ruling form of government before Jacob is the new world, or the new world order. Now, when you see Jacob in the scriptures, you see Abraham. Whenever you see the patriarchs listed according to the birthright, you have to follow that train of thinking. What do I mean by that? When you see the house of Jacob, this is either the whole house of the 12 tribes, or this can also be referring to Joseph. I'm gonna prove that through the scriptures. But what we know is Esau's form of government has the end of the world. It's gonna take this world down, both physically and metaphorically, because their system is gonna be the last ruling system before the new world order ushered in by the so-called copper-colored races, the nation of Israel, which would have the next world to come. So, when you see in John chapter 3 verse 16 that says, for God so loved the world in that context is talking about the kingdom of Israel. This same Yeshua preached, repent for the kingdom is at hand, for salvation is of the Jews. And Matthew 15:24, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So how is he not sent but unto the lost sheep, but for God so loved the world? Israel is the world that Yeshua was sent for. How do we know this? That for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believes in him would not perish but have everlasting life, is a direct fulfillment of Isaiah chapter 45 verse 17 that says, for Israel shall be saved in the earth, are saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation, neither shall they be ashamed or confounded, world without end. So the subject is Israel being saved, and they shall be a world without end. So the world that Yeshua was sent for was to manifest this kingdom of these copper-colored races, the nations that have been abhorred by the other nations, these destitute people that are the remnant of the children of Israel that would be like that in the last days. The kingdom that was prophesied was those people being raised up as the world to come. That is the gospel, my friends. That's why we have to know who we are, because if we are those people, we need to repent and turn back to our heritage so that we can be in line with our ancestors by repenting back to our heritage and usher in that kingdom family. Now, so Esau is going to be that last ruling government, that last ruling empire. Who else is a confirmation of Esau being the last ruling empire? We see in the book of Obadiah that it describes Esau. It says, he that dwells in the clefts of the rock, that sets his habitation high, that seeks to set his nest in the stars, that when he went out to glean the whole earth, he didn't leave nothing left, right? That he would rule by the edge of the sword. This is describing a people, family. But what else? The book of Obadiah says, you that exalt yourself as the eagle. Now, where do we see this eagle? We see this eagle in Deuteronomy 28 that says that Israel would be carried into slavery as swift as the eagle flies. Now, whose image is the eagle? We see in antiquity that Rome was the beginning of using that eagle as the sign of their empire. Rome passed that on to ancient Spain, and we also see America adopted that after them. Now, notice the pattern. Each one of those extensions is an extension of the fourth beast, which is Rome. Now, let's go through the beast. Now, so we're setting up Esau. We're going to deal with that eagle. Now, in the book of 2nd Esdras piggybacks those four beasts. Where did the four beasts come from? The book of Daniel. Now, y'all stay with me. Daniel breaks down every empire that would rule in the end of days before the rock that comes cut without hands would dash this statue, which was a dream actually that was showed to King Nebuchadnezzar. Now that stone that the builders rejected, that stone that is outside of the statue, that stone that is cut off as the cornerstone to be the foundation of the next world, y'all keep Joseph in mind, because we're going to deal with Messiah ben Joseph. We're setting this thing up. Right now I'm showing y'all all the nations, the end time. We're going to connect that to Joseph, right? So now we see that that last ruling empire was a part of those four beasts that Daniel saw. The first beast that he saw was a lion, right? A lion with eagle's wings. I'm going to put that up for you guys. The next beast that he saw was a bear that had ribs in its mouth. At one point it was on all fours, then it stood up on twos. We also see a leopard with 7 heads. The United Nations also had a beast statue set up outside of the UN headquarters that looked like these images. Now, the fourth beast, Daniel was not given an animal representation. I am proposing to you that that fourth beast was an eagle. Where did I get that from? Now, we saw in the book of Obadiah that Esau would be that last ruling government that would exalt themselves as the eagle. They would set their nest in the stars. Not just that, but they would dwell in the clefts of the rock. And in the last couple of verses of Obadiah chapter 1, we see in the day that the Most High judges Esau, the kingdom shall be the Lord's. Now we just saw that in 2nd Ezra chapter 6 that Esau is the end of the world. So Esau is that eagle in Obadiah that will be the end of the world before the kingdom of Christ. They would dwell in the clefts of the rock. Who is this people that come out of the Caucasus Mountains? Who is this people that their image is the eagle? Who is this people that set their nest in the stars? I'm going to show y'all that Neil Armstrong, where he said the eagle has landed.
Tranquility Base here. The eagle has landed.
The Persian, meaning that Rome, Edom, America, that's going to be the last one standing. Meaning that Rome, Edom, America, that's going to be the last one standing. Meaning that Rome, Edom, America, that's going to be the last one standing.
Yeah, I hope y'all caught that now. America, Europe, Esau, NATO, they know who they are. Now, who else proves that that fourth beast of Daniel is an eagle? When you look at Ezra in 2nd Ezra chapters 11 and 12, he says, now he was told this by the angel Raphael. Raphael tells Ezra that that beast that your brother Daniel saw, the animal wasn't given to him. But I'm going to tell you what that beast was. That beast that your brother Daniel saw is the eagle that comes out of the sea in the end of days. Now, a beast, an eagle that comes out of the sea, where have we seen that? In the book of Revelation chapter 13, John says, and behold, a beast dreadful comes up out of the water. John does not call it an animal either. John, they're speaking in parable. Daniel was just allowed to give a little bitty pieces of the story, and John gives his pieces, but none of them say the whole story. You have to have that Apocrypha book, the book of 2nd Ezra, to know who that animal is. Now, this is why they took these books out the Bible. So Ezra tells you that it is an eagle that comes out of the sea. And in 2nd Ezra chapter 12, we see this lion chasing after this eagle and says, aren't you he who I made to rule in my world? I'm going to connect that with Nephi. I'm going to connect that with Joseph. And I'm going to connect that with America, that land really belongs to the children of Israel. We're going to deal with it, family. So that's review. So we see that that last ruling empire, according to 2nd Ezra, is going to be Esau. Esau is the end of the world. Jacob is the beginning. This is why this is the Europeans. A lot of y'all have been arguing that Esau is the Arab and all these different people that don't have any military might, that are not ruling the world in the end of days. The last ruling people before our people, you can just look at the proof is in the pudding. Our people are waking up under whose rulership? Esau, the so-called NATO European nations. So we see in 2nd Ezra that Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. We see in Obadiah that this people, this Edomite people, they would exalt themselves as the eagle. They would dwell in the clefts of the rock. They would seek to set their nest in the stars. The eagle has landed. And when the Most High judged them, according to the book of Obadiah, the kingdom would be the Lord's. Now this is summed up in the 4 beasts. The 4 beasts represent Babylon, that lion that Daniel saw. The Medes and the Persians, which is that bear that was on all fours, then stood up on twos. The leopard is the Greek Empire. And that fourth beast is the Roman Empire. These are the four empires. Daniel also breaks that down in his statue, with the head of gold being Babylon, the arms of silver being the Medes and the Persians, the abdomen of brass being the Greeks, the legs of iron being the Romans, and the iron mixed with clay feet of the 10 toes would represent this new Roman Empire, which is an extension of Spain, which is America, right? Those 10 toes represent the 10 founding European market companies. Y'all check this out. Y'all catch this. The 10 NATO founding European countries in NATO, that is the 10 toes. But what else do the 10 toes represent? The 10 toes represent the 10 tribes, because NATO's headquarters would be the daughter of Babylon, America, and America would set up her empire in the land given to the 10 tribes, i.e. Ephraim, i.e. Joseph. I just dropped a heavy bomb for y'all. So the 10 toes represent the 10 tribes and the 10 NATO countries led by America and their empire in the land of promise given to Nephi, i.e. those Ephrathites. I'm going to show y'all that research, that Nephi and them were called Ephrathites. That's a whole nother thing. Now, so we see Esau is the end of the world. Those 10 toes is NATO. We see they exalt themselves as the eagle. Why do we need to know who Esau is? So we can understand the portrait of end time prophecy. Now, the scriptures tell you that only one tribe out of Israel, and when I say one tribe, I'm speaking of, and the confederate tribes along with that leading tribe, has the authority to conquer Esau. The Judean scribes know this. All of their secret literature about Messiah ben Joseph, they know this history well, right? Now, whenever you see Esau encountering the children of Israel, you are going to see a specific tribe that rises above to lead Israel against Esau. This is from the very beginning, family. Now, let's deal with that. When you see Jacob and Esau struggling in the womb, understand the birthright was given to Jacob. So you can almost argue every person with that birthright is arguing or fighting against Esau in the womb. Y'all better catch the power of that. When Jacob is wrestling with Esau, it's not just Jacob, it's Abraham, it's Isaac. How do I know this? We see in the Legends of the Jews, I'm going to pull that up, Volume 1 by Louis Ginsburg. He says that when Rachel was having, or when Rebecca was having this pain in her stomach, she was having this wrestling in her tummy, she was like, what's going on? We see in the Legends of the Jews that Abraham is still alive. And he tells her that you got 2 nations within your womb. Well, watch this. 2 worlds are within your womb. This goes back to systems of government. One would rule the earth in wickedness and sin and lasciviousness and give birth to Titus and Vespasia that would destroy the temple. And the other would give birth to Solomon that would rebuild the temple or build the temple and rule the earth in Torah and love and Ubuntu and I am, because we are. So Rebecca is told by her ancestors that are still alive, because they lived a long time, family, what is going on in her stomach. Abraham even tells Rebecca, do not let Esau get that birthright. Abraham had the wisdom and the spirit of the Most High Yah to know that the birthright would not go to Esau. So when Jacob and Esau are fighting, this is all the way down from Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. But who else? Who inherited that mantle of leadership? Joseph. And let's go through the scriptures. So we see, family, in the book of Jasher, that when Jacob died, the children of Israel went to take his bones and bury him in the land of Canaan, because Jacob had purchased the paperwork from his brother Esau to have the land of Canaan. Now, in the book of Jasher, I'm going to put that on the screen for y'all. We see that when the children of Israel go bury their father Jacob, they are met by Esau. And the Bible tells you that Joseph and his brethren stood up and stood against Esau and his brethren. Y'all got to catch this. This is powerful, family. Joseph is leading this united confederacy of Israel against Esau. This is the first fruit. Let me show y'all the rest of the scriptures. When you continue through time, let's fast forward to the book of Exodus, chapter 17. In the book of Exodus, we see that during this time, Joshua is fighting against Amalek. Who is Amalek? Amalek is the grandson of Esau. And we know the story. As long as Moses kept his hands up, Joshua was winning the battle. So Joshua is fighting against Esau. And Joshua, y'all watch this, is a son of Nun, descendant of Ephraim. Joshua himself was an Ephraimite. Joshua, who led them into the promised land, was an Ephraimite. Now let me show y'all a mystery. Yeshua's name in the Hebrew is Joshua. Yeshua's name is Joshua, family. That's the mystery. And Yeshua, the son of Joseph, there's a lot of layers to that, is the one that's going to lead us into the promise. Now let's continue. Now, so we see Joshua going against Esau in the book of Exodus. In the book of Obadiah that I told y'all, that talks about Esau exalts himself as the eagle. He dwells in the clefts of the rock. He sets his nest in the stars. And when the Most High judges him, the kingdom shall be the Lord's. In Obadiah 1 verse 18, it says, the house of Israel shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph shall be a flame, and Esau shall be stubble. Y'all better hear me. So Joseph and the northern kingdom, his confederate tribes, are prophesied to be the only kingdom that destroys Esau once and for all. I'm just giving y'all the scriptures, right? I know this is heavy. Now, this is where Jewish eschatology comes in. Now, so when you're looking at Messiah ben Joseph, Messiah ben David, this is what the Jewish rabbis call it. They say Messiah ben Joseph, and I'm going to show y'all a clip. So they say Messiah ben Joseph, his whole task is to regather the lost tribes of Israel, establish the kingdom by warring against Esau, and defending the people against Esau once and for all as one final stance. Now the Jews believe he is killed in battle, and Messiah ben David appears, establishes the kingdom, finishes the work, and rules for the millennial reign. Now, the problem with this is cognitive dissonance. Y'all check this. This is Republican versus Democrat. They're both trying to divide you by having pieces of the puzzle. The mystery is, if David is an Ephraimite, wait a second, David is a descendant of Joseph. Now, we're going to go through that Ephraimite stuff because this is a great place to go into Messiah ben Joseph, go to Messiah ben David, prove that it is one lineage in the hand of the Most High Yah, symbolized by the very rod thereof, and show you that these two Messiah ideologies is really one mantle and one work that will be accomplished in its totality. Now, let's go into this. So, we see all the way back in the book of Genesis when the Most High begins to give prophecies to Joseph. Now, this is important to understand Messiah ben Joseph, to really understand Israel's role in the end of days to stand up against white supremacy, Esau, the NATO rulership, and the nations. This takes Israel knowing who they are. Now, I told you guys in the book of Jasher, when Joseph stood up against Esau, he told Esau, our father has purchased right to this land. Joseph is the one that knows the records, knows who he is, and knows legalistically that that land belongs to him and his people by knowing his records. This goes back into, y'all check this out, the sealed portion of Ephraim, not just that, but the Book of Mormon. Now, a lot of y'all have, without wisdom, and I know we jumped the gun because it's hard for our people to trust a lot of this stuff. Let me explain the Book of Mormon to you all that may have not heard of it. The Book of Mormon is simply apocrypha text. I repeat, just like Ezra, just like Jasher, the Book of Mormon is apocrypha text. I am not talking about Mormonism. Mormonism is the equivalent to Christianity versus the Bible. Mormonism versus the Mormon scriptures, apocrypha text of Nephi, the son of Lehi, and his descendants, Moroni, Mormon. They compiled the records and the history of their people. Now, who are these people? Now, we see that in the sealed portion, and we also see that in the Book of Mormon. We see around the same time that Ephraim founded Nigeria in 600 BC, the Bible tells us through Mormon's account that a group of the house of Joseph were warned to go to a land that the Most High would show them, and he would give it to them because he was going to judge Judea and Jerusalem. This was around 600 BC when they left out of Jerusalem. Those Josephites, the ones that already didn't go into there, they stayed in Nigeria and in Africa and also Morocco. But you also have these Moors, right, go over to the Americas based on Mormon's account in the Book of Mormon. These are plates, family. We're just dealing with the text, not the Mormonism religion. That's like crack cocaine, like Christianity, right? Why is this important? Joseph did the same thing against Esau. He knew his records and knew the land that Esau wanted actually belonged to Joseph. Y'all stay with me. Now, this was in all the way back in the book of Jasher, but history repeats itself. Now, how do we know that America would be where Joseph would be given because the Most High warned them to go there through Nephi? How do we know this is consistent? We see in the first mention of Joseph's life that in the land of Joseph's captivity was actually the land that the Most High made him be fruitful and be the first in command. The very names of Manasseh and Ephraim tell the story of the land of Joseph's captivity actually being his posterity. Y'all better hear me. The name Manasseh, or Manasseh, in Hebrew means the Most High has caused me to forget the toil of my brothers that sold me into slavery. Ephraim means for the Most High Yah, in causing me to forget my hardship, has blessed me with double fruit in the land of my captivity. Is this a mystery about the modern Negro? That we are connected to Ephraim, that we are connected to the lost tribes, that we will bring the end of Esau's rulership in the land of our captivity? This is proven by Nephi. Now, in the sealed portion, it tells you that Nephi's family, Lehi's family, they actually were from a family of scribes in the kingdom of Judea. So they were Judeans, but they were of the house of Joseph. This gets into the Samaritans. The Samaritan woman said, "Are you greater than my father Jacob?" When Christ went to the well in John chapter 4. Why does she say, "Are you greater than our father Jacob?" She's a descendant of Jacob. That would make her an Israelite. The Pharisees accused YESHUA of being a Samaritan in John chapter 6 and in John chapter 8. YESHUA did not deny it, family. He just told them, "I don't have no devil." Is this why YESHUA was sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel? We see in Jeremiah chapter 31 that the Most High would take the house of Israel and the house of Judah and make them one stick in his hand. YESHUA said, "I'm sent for the lost sheep of the house of Israel." YESHUA's mission were to these scattered Ephraimites of Joseph's posterity, those 10 tribes. You also had Levites that still remained under the confederacy of Ephraim. Now, let's go deeper. So, we see Nephi and his family go to the Americas. America as that 10 toes ruling empire, that last ruling empire of Esau, would set up the headquarters of their empire in the land given to Joseph. Joseph would be taken into captivity in his own land, fulfilling Deuteronomy 28 that says, "The efforts of your land another nation shall eat up." Y'all, this stuff is deep. So when Joseph finds out who he is, this is epitomized in the Messiah ben Joseph, who awakens to this history, teaches it to his people, and in that moment, Ephraim becomes the warrior clan and the Most High's hand to conquer Esau, the nations, and establish the kingdom for Israel. That's why this stuff is so important, family. Now, also, in that same Book of Mormon, it goes into America being the choice land. A lot of so-called Latter-day Saints know that America would be that end-time Zion. Y'all watch this now. I know a lot of y'all saying, "Wait, what about Africa? What about Africa?" Understand, there are 12 tribes. Now check this out. The 10 tribes specifically were given the Americas as an inheritance. your so-called Moorish natives that were already here, and the rest of them, that the few of, not as many as what they tell us, the slave trade was totally different than what really happened. Shout out to Dane Calloway. Shout out to Big Judah, Elder I yield. I give all praise to the Most High, and I honor these elders and these leaders for their scholarship. And I give honor to whom honor is due. I glean from a lot of people, family, a lot of research. Now, let's continue. So Esau is that last ruling empire. We know that Russia, based on Josephus, based on some literature I showed you by Dr. Windsor, is connected to Gog and Magog. Russia is tied to Gog and Magog. China is tied to Moab. Now, all of this is spurred by Israel remembering who they are in the land of their captivity. Now, let's go back to Messiah ben Joseph. Now, let me prove to you all that the Messianic promise, the Messianic prophecies actually pertain to Joseph. I repeat, that Messianic promises pertain to Joseph. Now, let's break this thing down. Now, we see in Genesis chapter 48 that Jacob tells Joseph that just as your sons Ephraim and Manasseh are yours, just like my Reuben and Simeon, my firstborn and my second son, so shall your two sons be my firstborn and my secondborn. So in Genesis 48, Jacob adopts Ephraim and Manasseh into the role of the firstborn and secondborn son in the 12 tribes of Israel. This is the foundation for how, y'all understand, this is the foundation for how the birthright was given to Ephraim. Ephraim was the younger brother. Jacob switched his hands and said the blessing is going to be on the younger brother. The older brother is going to be a mighty nation. A lot of scholars say that Nephi is actually descended from Manasseh, that portion of Joseph. Some people also look at the fact that he's called an Ephrathite. So we know that these natives that were over here, we know that Nephi, Lehi, and that family would have been connected to Joseph, Ephraim, and Manasseh. They are given the first and second priority by Jacob. Jacob gives the birthright to Ephraim, and he also blesses Manasseh. That is the double fruit that was given to Joseph. Now, why is this important? When you go to Genesis 49, it tells you the blessings that will come upon all 12 sons in the last days. A lot of y'all don't catch that. This is the blessing pertaining to the last days. Now, why do I bring that up? Because we see, family, that when it talks about the scepter will not depart from Judah until Shiloh comes, who is Shiloh? Shiloh was the spiritual headquarters for Ephraim. We see in Psalm 78 that the Most High was going to use Shiloh as the place within Ephraim, using Ephraim to regather all the tribes. The Most High rejected Shiloh, which is the tabernacle of Joseph, in Psalm 78 because King Jeroboam led the northern kingdom into idolatry, and he sent them into the Assyrian captivity. Now, I'm going through the history of Israel. So Jeroboam leads Israel into sin. What the Most High does to fulfill the promise he made from the beginning was he took an Ephraimite family out of Shiloh, out of Ephraim, and planted them within Judah. So he said, I choose Judea, to bring out of that the restoration and the reconciliation of the 12 tribes within Judea or within Judah's borders. He did this because of King Jeroboam and their idolatry, family. Now let's go deeper.
What's up, Zion Dynasty? So we're back in this thing, family. We're going to go a little bit deeper. We're going to go into these precepts, and I'm going to show you all the underlying undertone of Joseph prophetically. And it's a beautiful thing, family. A lot of you may not have been aware of this hidden mystery that the Most High has tucked within himself for such a time as this. That is the mystery of Messiah ben Joseph. We're going to go through the Messianic prophecies, and I'm going to prove to y'all that Joseph continues that tradition of leadership and the noble birthright through his descendants. Just as it started with Abraham, it went to Isaac, it went to Jacob, he passed it to Joseph, Joseph passed it to his two sons Manasseh and Ephraim prevailed over the older and carried forth that birthright. Now let's deal with this, family. Now, in Genesis 48, we see the foundation of this. In this chapter, Jacob is sick, he's close to dying, and he gets ready to bless Joseph's seed first. I repeat, before Jacob dies, he blesses Ephraim and Manasseh even before he blesses Joseph and the 12 patriarchs in the next chapter. That's a nugget, family. Now, so he goes through the entire history. Let's read this. And it came to pass after these things that one told Joseph, behold, thy father is sick. And he took with him his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And one told Jacob and said, behold, thy son Joseph cometh unto thee. And Israel strengthened himself and sat upon the bed. Now look at the transition, family. When it says, and Jacob was told that his son is coming on his deathbed, it says Israel strengthened himself. Now, why does it switch from using Jacob? Now, we know sometimes Jacob was called his birth name, Jacob, supplanter. It became a representation of his flesh, of his naturality, of his carnality, right? But when you see him referred to as Israel, this is to signify his priestly, almost deified status after he encounters the Most High Yah through the servant, the messenger of the Most High Yah, and his name is changed from Jacob, which means supplanter, a finesser, and unto Israel, which is a prince, he that has power and has prevailed with God and with man, right? Authority from heaven on earth, a principality, if you will, right? So it switches from Jacob's moment of weakness to Israel strengthening himself. Now, verse 3, and Jacob said to Joseph, Yah Almighty, Elohim Almighty, Adonai, appeared unto me at Luz in the land of Canaan, and blessed me, and said unto me, behold, I will make thee fruitful, and multiply thee, and I will make of thee a multitude of people, and will give this land to thy seed after thee for an everlasting possession. Now, so Jacob begins to go through the fundamental birthright categories that are contained within the covenant that the Most High made with him. Y'all don't get confused. Basically, he's breaking the whole thing down. Everything that the Most High Yah said he would do for Jacob, and every promise that he made, he said he would make him fruitful. Now, keep in mind, the same blessing that is in this birthright that Jacob is recounting, we're going to see that in Genesis 49 on Joseph being a fruitful bow and all of these things. So he says, behold, I will make thee fruitful. Now, Joseph also names Ephraim double fruit. So we see that the Most High prophetically was setting up this lineage. And multiply thee. That's going to be a part of the blessing of Joseph. And I will make of thee a multitude of people. We're going to see that the fullness of the nations is come through Ephraim. Now, a lot of Latter-day Saints, they understand this mystery, but they have not taught this to our people. They understand that the word Gentile is interchangeable with Hellenized, scattered, dispersed Israelites, those that have discontinued from their heritage, right? They are the fullness of the end-time nations. This goes back to the promise that the Most High made to Abraham, that through his seed the nations will be blessed. We interpret this is surface level interpretation, that through his seed means that Israel would be priest. Every nation they would go to, they would bless the people of that nation. But it's deeper than that. The Most High tells Abraham that in your seed shall all the nations be blessed. That means through Abraham's seed, the nations will be populated, founded, and they will be led spiritually, right? What does this mean? Ephraim's descendants would be scattered to the Americas, scattered to the islands of the sea. They would have been ruling in Europe before the European Edomites reclaimed control. So through Israelites being scattered, all of these nations are founded, and their culture is then appropriated by Esau's descendants that follow suit. Y'all catch that now? The natives had fringes in their clothing. When you even look at the symbol of America with the 13 stars, that's in the shape of the 13, that's in the shape of the Star of David, right? It's on the back of your dollar bill. Y'all, if you don't believe me, pull a dollar out, and on the back of it, you will see a Star of David made up of the 13 stars. Now, I've already done a lesson on those 13 stars, going back to the 13 stars that would bow before Joseph. A lot of y'all are like, what 13 stars? The 11 stars, the sun and the moon, that would bow down to Joseph. Now, where did America get that Star of David with these 13 stars? They got it from the culture of those Ephraimites, Nephi's people, the Neji, that were already in the Americas. They appropriated their government. Shout out to Dane Calloway and a lot of these elders bringing this stuff out. They appropriated their culture. They took their form of government. They took their flags. They took a lot of this. Brother Dane has been doing brilliant research into that our people were already over here through those Ephraimites in the Americas. So this goes back to the blessing of Abraham, that using Israel, all the nations, Esau and these boys don't have culture, y'all. Everything that they do in terms of government, in terms of being a collective body, in terms of tribes, in terms of culture, religion, all of that they have taken from our forefathers. But this goes back to the blessing of Abraham. And I hope y'all caught that. Now let's keep reading. And your two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, which were born in the land of Egypt, they were products of captivity. Jacob is saying, I want them two boys just like my firstborn and my secondborn. So in this, we see the principle of adoption, which we're going to see in the Levitical law through the Levirate, which also is going to lean back to Joseph in the book of Ruth. We're going to talk about that, family. But we see that Jacob adopts his grandsons as his natural sons. The only place that a family system like this is practiced today is in Africa. They have a system like that where the father can graft in his grandchildren as his heirs, as his sons, and they can get the inheritance, they can get the namesake and that kind of thing. We see this practiced by the Negro Jacob, father of Israel, with Ephraim and Manasseh. This is the first fruit of that principle being operated in. Now, verse 6. And thy issue, everything else that comes out of thee after them, they are yours. So this means Joseph could have had other kids that are not expressly mentioned as Ephraim and Manasseh, because Ephraim and Manasseh became the leading tribes of the entire 12 tribes of Israel. During the time of the judges, during the time of Joshua, we see Ephraim leading the 12 tribes. Ephraim and Manasseh, the house of Joseph, were the cornerstone. Now, I know a lot of y'all are like, how did we switch to this Judean narrative? How did it switch to Judah? There's a lot that goes into Cyrus, king of Persia, allowing those of the tribe of Judah and Judea to return back to the land of Palestine. And keep in mind, Ephraim had already been scattered. Ephraim, after the fall of Assyria in around 600 to 580 BC, they went into Nigeria, they went into North Africa, and they settled the Americas. That's the birth of the ancient Moors. So they had already left Jerusalem when the Assyrians fell. We see Nephi go to the Americas. We see Ephraimites go into West Africa, right? These are the so-called Moors, or the Negroes, right? But when you look at the Judeans, a lot of them were still in captivity of the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, and some of the Levitical priests. They went back and rebuilt the temple, rededicated the temple during the time of Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther. You can also see King Josiah doing a lot of reform during this time. A lot of the Judean kings did a great reform, redoing the lineages and a lot of that stuff. So a lot of that article of history became the Judean scriptures. This is where you get the concept of the Jews coming in, right? During that time period of those of specifically the southern kingdom going back to the land. Ephraim, or Israel, had already gone into Africa and the Americas. These are the Moors. So those Moors had already been gone because the angel of the Most High Yah and the very Yeshua himself visited Nephi through his father Lehi and said, don't go back to Judea because I'm going to judge that rebuilt temple that they got going on. Now, I hope y'all caught. Let's keep reading. Now, so, and as for me, when I came to Padan, Rachel died by me in the land of Canaan, in the way, which yet there was only a little way to go into Ephrath, and I buried her there in the way of Ephrath. The same is Bethlehem. So Moses is telling you what that place is today. But Jacob is saying in the land of Canaan. So now y'all got to catch this. This is going to set up the Bethlehem clan. That is where Rachel died. Who is Jacob talking to? Joseph. So we know Joseph is passing this down to Ephraim and Manasseh. Better yet, Ephraim and Manasseh are standing right here listening to their grandfather. Now you got to understand the impression that's going on. Jacob is telling them how the love of my life, your mother, Joseph, your grandmother, Ephraim and Manasseh, she died in the land of Canaan. Now, what territory was that? Bethlehem. Now you're going to see why when Ephraim grew up, they said, we will have the land of our foremother. Y'all got this. You got to read the scriptures and really put yourself in the story. That's when the Most High can start revealing these mysteries, the layers behind it, right? So Rachel died by me in the land of Canaan in the way. He is telling Joseph and his grandsons this story, the same which is Bethlehem. And now Israel. So now you see the spiritual influence of the father stepping in when it switches from saying Jacob to Israel. And Israel beheld Joseph's sons. So this is the prophetic Ruach HaKodesh, seeing these sons in a future sense. Now this is the prophetic undertone. Let's watch this. And the Most High through Jacob, i.e. Israel, said, who are these? And Joseph said unto his father, these are my sons. Now why did Israel ask him, who are these? Now this is he's almost going off into the prophetic spirit. Now watch this. They are my sons, whom Elohim hath given me in this place, in the land of my captivity, in Egypt, right? In the place where Joseph was meant to die as a slave, his sons were raised up. Now watch this with America and Nephi. We're going to turn this back around. And he said, bring them, I pray thee, unto me, and I will bless them. Now the eyes of Israel were dim for age. So now why does the scripture say it like that? Y'all, we got to dissect this thing. The eyes in the flesh of Jacob could not see. So what's getting ready to happen in the story is not based off the flesh, but a prophetic spirit of the end times. Watch this. So he couldn't see, and he brought them near and kissed them and embraced them. And Yasharal said unto Yawsap, I had not thought to see your face, and lo, Elohim hath showed me also thy seed. And Joseph brought them out from between his knees. These were young boys. And he bowed himself with his face to the dirt before his elder, his father. This is practiced in African culture, right? The natives also practice this, those Ephraimites in the Americas. This has been long lost. Our community needs to return back to that level of honor for the ancestors and the elders. Now let's watch this. And Yahusap took them both, Ephraim in his right hand, toward Israel's left. So he's putting the younger son in the left hand, and Manasseh in his left hand, he's trying to put in Israel's right. And Israel, now I already told you he couldn't see. He took his right hand and put it upon Ephraim's head, the younger. And Joseph's like, oh no, because that would have been a big sign of disgrace toward his sons, because they honored the firstborn. This was the principle of the ancestors. So Joseph is going to get worried. So he takes his right hand, puts it on Ephraim, and his left hand on Manasseh, guiding his hands knowingly. So he swapped them, because the Bible says that Joseph set him up. He put the right sons in the right hand. So how did Israel get his right hand on Ephraim? He crisscrossed them. Now there's a lot of Israelite lore. There's a lot of Jewish thought on what's going on in this chapter. And I'm going to show y'all some mysteries through the Jewish Encyclopedia and some other sources, family. Right. So verse 15, and he blessed Yahweh, and he said, Elohim, before whom my fathers Abraham and Yitzhak did walk, the Elohim which fed me all my life long unto this day, the angel which redeemed me from all evil, bless these lads. So the very power he is invoking, that of the ancestors, the blessing, the birthright, the nobility of the Most High operating in flesh, was the blessing of Abraham. So he calls upon Abraham, Isaac, even himself, that the angel that kept him, to bless Ephraim and Manasseh. Y'all, this stuff doesn't go away. You got to do something with this. And I love all 12 tribes. Y'all don't get me wrong, but we got to do things based on the order and the structure that the Most High has blessed the tribes. That's how we operate in the unity that the Most High wants us to. You have to operate in the order, the government that the Most High set up within Israel. He placed that leadership, that governmental task, on the crown of Joseph, even on the head of Ephraim. Verse 16. The angel which redeemed me from all evil, bless these lads, and let my name be named on them, and the name of my fathers. Now this is what was passed on through the birthright. The birthright is the inheritance of everything the father has. His namesake, his wealth, the blessings of his land, the very emblem of the continuation of the nation is on that birthright tribe. That means if no other tribe continues, family, Joseph would have to, for the namesake of the Most High Yah, because of what he told Abraham. This is the scriptures. This is not my own flesh. I am reading unto you the very oracle of on high. Let's keep reading. And when Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand upon Ephraim, it displeased him. He said, Father, don't disgrace my son. This is not so. Manasseh is the firstborn. And he held up his father's hand to remove it from Ephraim's head and to transfer it to Manasseh. And Joseph said unto his father, come on, father, not so now. For this is my firstborn. Put thy right hand on his head. Do right by my son. And his father refused and said, I already know my son. I know. He also shall become a people and be great. This is nephew. Y'all watch this. But truly, his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his seed shall become the fullness of the nations. Now, this is Goyim in the Hebrew. This is Gentile. Speaking of Ephraim, the laws of first mention. That means when we see Gentiles in terms of salvation, that's why I told y'all, John 3:16 is not everybody. John 3:16 is the world without end. That namesake of the world without end is on Joseph. That means the 12 tribes will continue forever, and the tribe that will lead that and be the preservation of it is Ephraim, family. He is the multitude of the nations with regard to salvation. Salvation is not for everybody. It's for Israel. Are there going to be cleaving heathen Gentiles? Absolutely. But that's like if I throw a birthday party for my son. Can he invite his friends from school? Absolutely. But the party's not for them. The party's for my son. And Ephraim is that son with the birthright passed by his father Joseph, from his father Jacob, from his father Isaac, from his father Abraham. So that's the power that I operate in, family. That's the power that is speaking through me to Yah's sheep. So this work that I'm doing, you ain't coming against this, you're coming against the Most High. Let's keep going. And his father said, I know what I'm doing, but truly the younger brother shall be greater than he, and his seed shall become a multitude of nations. And he blessed them that day, saying, in thee shall Yasharal bless, saying, God make thee as Ephraim and Manasseh. The Jewish people pray this even to this day. When they bless their kids, when they go through bar mitzvah, they say, may the Most High bless you as Ephraim and Manasseh. Even the Jewish people that know they ain't Ephraim know that the ultimate sign of blessing is to say, may the Most High Elohim make you as Ephraim and Manasseh. And he set Ephraim before Manasseh, and Yasharal said unto Joseph, behold, I die, but Elohim shall be with you and bring you into the land of your fathers. So he's saying, hold tight in captivity, and you shall lead in this land, and I shall return you back to the land that I swore to your fathers. Moreover, now watch this, I have given you a portion above your brethren. This is double fruit. This is how Joseph has the right to America and Africa, because the Most High says, I'm going to get you back to, you're going to have that land as well. But while you're in this land, I'm giving you a double portion, Joseph. You're going to own America as if you owned Africa. Watch this now. We see this through the life of Joseph. Joseph was the only tribe that had that authority. During the time of the famine, Egypt had to answer to Joseph. In the land that was meant to swallow him up. Now, this is our people's testimony. Watch this. Now, let's keep going. Now, we're going to go into that Psalm 78 thing. Oh, don't worry. Oh, we're going to deal with he rejected the tabernacle, because y'all, I got so many scriptures I hadn't really been able to break them down. This might be a long lesson, but we're going to deal with each and every precept, family. Now, let's go to Genesis 49, the infamous Genesis 49, where Jacob is giving an end-time prophecy to the 12 tribes. Now, let me prove that. Now, in Genesis chapter 49, verse 1, it says, and Yaakov called his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I might tell ye that which shall befall you in the last days. So this prophecy that Jacob is giving is the end. Watch this. Why is that important? Because the blessings that he gives these sons is what's going to happen when it's all said and done. And the Bible is going to show you through Torah, inspired by Moshe Hanavi, that the most lavish of blessings was bestowed upon the crown of he that was made Nasi, a Nasir, are separate from his brethren. The first time you see Nazi applied to Israel is Joseph. So when you get into the Nazi princes, now Hitler and them boys tried to use it for the whole Nazi. When you see them say Nazi party, they were playing off Nazi. Google it, research it. Those Germans were playing off the Israelite Ephraimite princes of David's, the Euphrates of Morocco, the Moors. Now watch this. Now, so he's telling them what's going to happen in the end of days. Now let's go down to these blessings. Reuben, you will not excel because you defiled your father's bed. Now, I'm summing up the first couple. We're going to get to Judah. We're going to highlight Judah, and we're going to highlight Joseph, right? So we see Reuben doesn't get the birthright. He says, you're not going to excel. You're not going to make it. They're not going to remember you. To this day, we don't really talk about Reuben. Now, I believe the Most High has preserved Reuben because this is an end-time blessing. But in terms of the preeminence that he was going to get, y'all, because he slept with his father's concubine, he wouldn't get that birthright. We're going to see that passed down to Joseph and specifically Ephraim. Simeon and Levi, y'all ain't going to get it either because instruments of cruelty are you. Now, this is what happened to their sister Dinah. She was defiled, and they went in to a people that said they were sorry, and they even circumcised themselves. And Simeon and them said, oh, that's good. And they crept in at night and slew all them jokers, right? Now, they did it for their sister, but Jacob said, you made my name stink in the land, right? Now, let's look at Judah. Now, this is what we got to highlight, Judah. And we're going to go to Joseph, and we're going to compare and see is there a connection. Because, family, there's a connection between Judah's blessing and Joseph's. Now, verse 8. Yahudah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the very neck of your enemies. Judah was a warrior. Judah was wise as well. He watched his brothers be crazy and foolish and lose the birthright, and Judah preserved his dignity. Now watch this. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee. Now Jacob is telling them that Judah, you're going to be known in the end of days. Everybody going to know Judah. Today, when you say that you're an Israelite, most of the time they say they're a Jew. Them folks in the land, they call themselves a Jew. This goes all the way back to the blessing of Jacob. We know about the Israelite scriptures. We know about the holy scriptures through the Jews that returned and restored the lineage. We know about Yeshua because he lived in Judea, Bethlehem specifically. We're going to deal with that. But he was in Judea. Judah represented not just the most prominent tribe, but also the last leading tribe during the kingdom era of Israel in the state of Judea before 70 CE. I was going to say 70 AD, right? Now, let's keep going. Judea, Yahudah, is a lion's offspring. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. You stoop down, you couch down. He's a warrior. He's an old lion. Who shall arouse him? So Judah took great pride in preserving the leadership of the tribes. Now, this is going to piggyback what was happening during the time period in this time period in history. We see that it was thought that Joseph was dead. And because Joseph's gone, Judah inherited the leadership in that moment. So Judah got the scepter. Judah got the rod that goes all the way back to the branch off the tree of life. I know a lot of y'all like, what? I'm going to go into that with the rod of Moses. That rod was actually a branch off the tree of life that was passed down to the birthright son. Now we're going to get into it. That's in the book of Joshua. I just wanted to drop that. That was passed down to Judah. Everything, the leadership, all of that. The staff of Jacob, that rod that I'm talking about was with Judah, right? The scepter, now watch this, that rod iron shall not depart from Yahudah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh comes. Family, that Shiloh is so powerful and significant, we gonna have to break that thing down. Shiloh, now let's just break down basic English. The scepter is not gonna depart from Judah. A lawgiver is not gonna depart from his loins until. Right there, that lets you know that Judah would rule until this person comes, until this place comes. Shiloh is a place and a person. It's a territory and a people. Now watch this now. And we're going to connect that with Joseph when we deal with the infamous Psalm 78. Let me go ahead and pull that up. I might go ahead and pull that up because this is a perfect time to go through that history. And make sure I got the book of John up. I'm going to deal with those scriptures as well. Samaria. Oh, yeah, I need Samaria when I'm dealing with this. All right. Let's see if I can find this scripture. Now, Let's go to Psalm 78. Now, we're reading the prophecy that Jacob's given, but I want to piggyback John 78 because some men, some Israelites, and I'm not going to say it's out of a wicked motive, they've been using Psalm 78 to say the Most High rejected Joseph. If that's the case, family, then none of the 10 tribes will be restored. We know it can't be saying that, right? That means Israel don't get blessed again. Oh, you know, he just talking about the blessing. He just talking about the blessing got stripped from him forever. We're going to see that as well because that presents a contradiction to what the Most High said from the beginning. But let's look at Psalm 78 and parallel that with until Shiloh comes. Now, Psalm 78, let's go down some. Let's go to about verse 50-ish. No, that's going. He's going to recount what's going on in Egypt, the plagues, and all the great stuff that the Most High did for Israel. Now, the centerpiece, right? The subject of this chapter is Ephraim. So he's going through in Psalm 78. That's why it's so long. Everything he did for Israel. When I say Israel, I'm talking about the northern kingdom, the house of Israel, or Joseph's, right? Not the house of Judah. So he's saying Israel, northern kingdom, Ephraim. I did all this for y'all. I got y'all out the wilderness, right? Verse 57, but you turned your back and you dealt unfaithfully like your forefathers. You didn't repent. Like a deceitful bow. Now, you know, now the imagery of the bow, we're going to see that always applied to Joseph. When you look at the Native Americans with the bow, that is their heritage. With the fringes on, with that Star of David, with the 13 tribes. The natives had that before they got it. When you notice that eagle on that dollar bill has arrows in one of his talons. He got that from the natives. Watch this now. So when you see bows and archers and arrows mentioned in the scriptures, it's also a metaphor, prophetic metaphor to alluding to Joseph or Ephraim. And we see this in the context of Psalm 78. That he says, Israel, Ephraim, y'all are a deceitful bow. You didn't want to fight the Philistines, but you want to be unfaithful to me, right? Now watch this. So the Most High is just pissed off with Northern Kingdom, Jeroboam, the whole thing. He's telling them, y'all going into slavery. And a lot of Israelites have been using this to reject themselves because you don't know that you linked to this people. So you better hope Israel gets saved. Now watch this now. For they provoked the Most High Yah to anger with their high places, their groves, Ashtoreth, their altars of Baal, and moved him to jealousy with their graven images. Now watch this now. Our people been known for this stuff. When Elohim heard this, he got angry and greatly got tired of Israel. He abhorred Israel. He said, I don't want to have nothing to do with Ephraim no more. Watch this. So that he forsook the tabernacle of Shiloh, the tent which he placed among men. Now let's watch this now. And delivered his strength into captivity. Watch this. So the Most High said, I'm done with the dwelling place of Ephraim, and y'all going into slavery. We see the Assyrians take them. But this is a metaphor for another Josephite captivity. Woo! In their enemy's hand. Watch this. This is that eagle that I told y'all that carried us away as swift as the eagle flies. Now, a lot of our people were already over here, so the curses of Deuteronomy 28 were double fruit because of Joseph. I'm going to get y'all Israelites in Africa. I'm going to get you with your brethren over here in the Americas. Just like the Most High blessed you with double land, I'm going to take you from the four corners and put you under your enemy's hand. Watch this. Now, let's go down some. Moreover, he refused, so he emphasizes it. He refused the tabernacle of Joseph and chose not of the tribe of Ephraim. Now watch this. A lot of Israel says, look at that. It's express, JB. He ain't choosing Ephraim. What is he saying? He's going to send Ephraim into captivity. He's going to reject their holy city of Shiloh. But wait a second. In Genesis 49, with the blessing of Judah, it says the scepter is going to be with you, Judah. It ain't going to depart. Nor a lawgiver from between your feet until Shiloh comes. And unto him is going to be the gathering of the people, binding his foil unto the vine. The vine, that sounds like Joseph, the fruitful vine. Wait a second, didn't he reject Shiloh? Let's go back to Psalm 78. But chose the tribe of Judah, the Mount Zion, which he loved. So what is the Father saying? He's saying, Ephraim, y'all going into slavery. I'm not honoring your city. So if y'all return, you ain't coming back to Shiloh to gather together. I choose Judah for that. I choose Jerusalem for that. I choose Zion for that. I choose Zion and Judea as the place that when y'all return from captivity, that's where y'all would assemble. This is not saying he rejects the lineage of Joseph or Ephraim, but he did not choose them to rebuild the center place of the gathering of the people of Yah, the Israelites, as the kingdom hotspot, or the kingdom cornerstone, the headquarters, if you will. Shiloh would no longer be the headquarters of the gathering of Yah's people, but he would choose Zion for that, which is in Judea, or Judah's borders. But wait a second, how does he reconcile that he says until Shiloh comes that he's going to use him to gather the people? How can he bless Ephraim on one hand with the birthright, but he clearly got mad with them and chose Judah's borders? This is where David comes in. We got to deal with it, family. When it says he chose Judah, the Most High had a loophole. He said, to fulfill what I spoke about with Joseph, I'm going to take an Ephraimite family, pit them in Judah, reject the overall territory of Ephraim being the center place, but respect the lineage for my namesake and the birthright that goes to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph. Watch the wisdom, the calculated nature of the Father to preserve every aspect of his word, y'all. He said, I can't do away with the birthright that's on Joseph for my namesake. Now, wait a second. I know a lot of y'all like, well, look at Reuben. Reuben, he rejected Reuben in the birthright because of what Reuben did. Now, watch this, family. When you look at Joseph, Joseph was specifically given the birthright by Jacob. When Jacob assembled the 12 tribes together, he had not passed it to Reuben. Reuben was supposed to got it, but at the time of Jacob blessing the offspring, he did not give it to Reuben. So it's not like he gave it to Reuben and took it away. We see this also with Jacob and Esau. I'm dropping some nuggets. Y'all better catch this. Esau never received the birthright for him to say it was stolen. Look at the scriptures. The Most High first had already told Rebekah he ain't going to get it. Then the Most High said, I got to justify the fact that I don't want him to get it. So Esau sold it before he got it. He sold it. He said, when our father blesses us with the birthright, you can have my birthright. Just give me some of that food you got. So Esau did not have the birthright taken. Reuben did not have the birthright taken. The Most High knew once he gives that birthright, it can't be stopped. That's why you see when Isaac blessed his sons and Esau said, bless me, father, even me. He said, I didn't already bless them. So he couldn't do away with Joseph for his name's sake. Oh my good. I get excited, y'all, because the faithfulness of the Most High to our people. He said, I ain't going to do away with you, not because of you, because y'all wicked and y'all just sorry, right? I'm going to send you into slavery too also. But I got to keep a remnant and I got to pit them in Judah, but I can't forget about them. This is where David comes in, right? So this is that Psalm 78. Now let's go back to the blessing. So when it says the scepter's not going to depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver until Shiloh comes, when Shiloh comes, this is a person. That's why most people interpret that as a messianic prophecy, because it's not the place per se, because he rejected the place, but he chose the people, and the place is where the people are. So he's talking about Ephraim, which is that spiritual Shiloh and natural Shiloh, because y'all didn't like me saying spiritual Ephraimite. To keep it plain, David is a physical Ephraimite, but it's according to the Levite, which physically you could say Boaz is Judah. So that's why it says spiritual Ephraim, right? But the Most High don't see it like that. The Most High said, no, you don't have to water it down. I said what I said. He's an Ephrathite. David, the son of Jesse, the Ephrathite. Don't run from my word, son of man. Just tell the truth. David is an Ephraimite. Now let's watch this. I'm going to show you how this connects with him choosing Judah. So he says, Judah, you won't have the leadership until Joseph is restored. Now watch this. Verse 11. And this Ephraimite is going to bind his foil to the vine. He's going to be fruitful. Now this is Ephraimite language, and his donkey unto the best wine, right? He going to have the most choice land for vegetation. Now that's alluding to the Americas. The choice land. We see this terminology in the Book of Mormon and in the sealed portion. He washed his garments in wine. The first miracle of Yeshua, representing the first fruit or the birthright, was that wine, that grape, that imagery of that fruit, which is alluding to Ephraim. And he washed his clothes in the blood of grapes. So he's in the best land. He got the best fruit. He's fruitful. That is that Shiloh that is an Ephraimite that is within Judah, which is the ruler in Judah. His eyes going to be red with wine. He going to have so much wine, his teeth going to be white with milk. This is speaking of the fruitful, the bountiful nature of this Shiloh, this Ephraimite, this Ephraim restoration that is going to get that scepter and that lawgiver title back when they're restored, because the birthright rests with Ephraim. Now let's go down, family. Now in verse 22, now we're going to look at this blessing. It's going to look just like the blessing that is attached to the B portion of Judah. Yosef is a fruitful bow, even a fruitful bow by a well. Now this is going to get into Jacob's well in John chapter 4. This very well, some scholars believe, is where they pit him in the pit. Is the actual pit that the brothers pit Joseph in. So Jacob is playing off of the captivity by he's saying, in the very well that they put you in, you became a fruitful bow, a fruitful branch that you used the water of your captivity to lead to the bountiful nature of your fruit. Watch this. He turned the waters of affliction until it was meant to be his damnation, but it became his salvation. We see this with Joseph's life. We see in the midst of Egypt, he becomes the chief vizier, or the Nasi prince, right? That is used to save the whole world from famine and preserve the 12 tribes. So Jacob's playing off of this well that his brothers put him in, because he found out about it at this point. He said, yeah, you fruitful by that well. That well that they thought to kill you and send you to hell. That very well that they sold you to the four corners of the earth. That very well of the transatlantic that they thought they was going to do away with the name of Israel, and they took crafty counsel of Psalms 83. That very well of the Americas, I actually gave that to your people already. Watch this. In the land of your captivity, I'm going to use that for your productivity. Watch what I'm saying. Verse 23. The archers, they hated him. It's a spirit, y'all. So y'all don't have to defend your boy JB. Walk in love. It's a lot of people attacking this revelation. They're not attacking it. The spirit that has been using them and using this age to get rid of Joseph, that's all this is, y'all. So the archers shot at him. They hated him, right? But watch this. They're using bows, but the Most High is going to turn Joseph into a bow. Watch this. Verse 24. But his bow abode in strength. So it says that even though all of this opposition was against him, even though they called him nigger spick spoons in cartoons, even though the nations conspired and devised crafty counsel against the copper-colored indigenous and the Moorish Ephrati Nigeria, even though the nations have sought to do away with the so-called black man, his bow abode in strength. And the arms of his hands were made strong by the hands, not his hands, but the Most High holding his hands. That is the mighty God, El Gibor of Jacobi. Watch this. And from this Joseph is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. They got a smiley face right there. Watch this. So the scholars know that from Joseph is the stone. Who is this stone? When I told y'all about the four beasts, the lion with the eagle's wings, when I told you about the bear that was on fours, then stood up on twos, the leopard with 7 heads, and the dreadful eagle, that Daniel didn't see it as an eagle, but Ezra saw it as an eagle. John saw it come out to sea. Ezra said the eagle came out to sea. That fourth beast, watch this, would only be destroyed by the stone which the builders rejected. Watch this! The stone of Israel. But who's getting this prophecy of the Messiah? That stone that comes off the mountain, that is the eternal aspect of the Most High. Joseph. That's why the Jews had to admit about a Messiah ben Joseph and a Messiah ben David. They know David was an Ephraimite. They're trying to divide and confuse our people, like Democrats and Republicans have been playing games with our people in our own land for the past 400 or 500, really 1,000 years. Listen, family. Even by the Elohim of thy father, who shall help you, and by the Almighty, who will bless thee with blessings of heaven above and blessings of the deep that lieth under. That means the resources of that gold mountain that they know not. Jacob gonna find that thing, right? Jacob, y'all can kick him out one land and send him to another land. He'll dig out there and find oil, and you'll have to come back to that land, because it wasn't about the land. It's about the people. The Most High said in that blessing that the blessings on on high and the blessings on the earth, that is the earth's resources, the palladium, the gold, the silver, the cobalt, all the minerals, right? The potassium, everything that you need to have life to the full, to the overflow, it would be attracted like a magnet to Joseph. Y'all better hear what I'm saying. and of the womb. That means you're going to be the most fruitful people on earth. Y'all don't buy that 12%, 13%. They tell us that to psych us out and make us think that the black folks, the copper-colored races, that we only 12% of the population. They know you're a world without end. Y'all better hear me. The blessings of your father have prevailed above. This is all Joseph's blessing. Above the blessings of my progenitors. The blessing that I'm giving you, Joseph, is above anything you could fathom. Unto the utmost bound of the everlasting hills, they shall be on the head of him that is Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him that was the Nasi, or was consecrated, set apart, separated in the Hebrew from his brethren. Y'all got to see the power. Now keep in mind about that everlasting hills. Now watch this. Let me show y'all a mystery in Micah 5:2 real quick. I got to show y'all this. I hope I got it up, man. Oh man, I got to show y'all this. All right, now let's go to Micah 5:2 real quick. I know I've been preaching, y'all. I got to give y'all this. I don't know how long this video gonna be. I hope that fan don't start up. The Most High done held it back. All praises. Now y'all watch this now. Now, Micah 5:2 says, "But thou, O Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of the cities and the territories within Judah, yet out of this town, the spies of the other cities," because they knew about them Ephraimites in that thing, "yet out of thee shall come forth unto me he that is to be the ruler in Israel," watch this, "whose going forth has been from old, from everlasting." Now wait a second, let's go back to that Genesis 49. It said, now the blessings are going to be on you to the utmost bound of the everlasting hills. Oh, no, that's just a coincidence. It ain't talking about Joseph right there. Well, we already know about the Ephraimites in Bethlehem. No, it ain't talking about that. Let me show you another confirmation. Deuteronomy 33. Watch this now. Now, let's go down to Joseph. Verse 13. "And of Joseph," this is Moses. So we just saw Jacob bless him, the father of Israel. Now we finna see the prince of prophets. Y'all better talk to me and what he says about Joseph. "Blessed of the Most High Yah is his land." Now, why he started with that? Oh, my goodness. He already knew, seeing in the future, being a prophet, Joseph would have the Americas and he'd be in Africa. Watch this. "Blessed be the Most High Yah." He going to have the best land. "For the precious things of heaven and of the dew, and for the deep that couches beneath, and for the precious fruits brought forth by the sun, and for the precious things put forth by the moon." That means the tide, the perfect culture, the perfect climate. The sun gonna do you just right. Your fruits gonna do right in your land. Watch this. "And for the chief things of the ancient mountains, and for the precious things of the lasting hills." Lasting hills? Everlasting hills? Micah 5:2, "whose going forth is of old, from everlasting." Genesis 49 about Joseph, the everlasting hills. All of this is line upon line, family. Now watch this. "And for the precious things of the earth," all the minerals gonna go to Joseph, right? And y'all check out that video about the Moroccans. I told y'all about how Morocco has the highest concentration of phosphate that's used in the agricultural minerals for the fertilizers, right? So they have 70% of 100% in the earth. Morocco has it. So if a famine happens, the leading, y'all about to hear me, the Most High faithful, y'all, I'm telling you, Morocco has a monopoly on that thing. Now, y'all check that video out. I can't remember which one it was, but somebody commented that thing. "Let the blessing come upon the head of Joseph, and upon the crown," or the head of him, "that was separated from his brethren." That's word for word what Jacob said. Moses made sure he got it right. "His glory is like the firstling of a bull, a black bull, a strong ox, and his horns are like the horns of unicorns. With them he shall push the people together, gather the people together." Joseph, that's Shiloh, "unto him shall be the gathering of the people." We saw that in Genesis 49. Let's go back to it. When it says, "Judah, you're going to rule until Shiloh comes, and he's going to gather the people." At first, it was going to be in the actual place of Shiloh. The Most High said, "I'm going to take the people of Shiloh after I judge them in captivity, and I'm going to bring a clan of them into Bethlehem, and unto that Ephraimite family is going to be the Messianic promise to gather Yah's people from the ends of the earth." That goes back to Deuteronomy 33:17. He says, "With his horns," Ephraim's horns, Joseph's horns, "he's going to gather his people together from the ends of the earth, and they are the 10,000s of Ephraim." He says, "Let me tell you who's going to do this. Ephraim. 10,000, and Manasseh 1,000. This is why they sang the song about David. Oh, that Saul is slaying his thousands, because Saul was also a son of Joseph through Benjamin. And David his 10,000s. That's why Saul didn't like that mug. Because Saul said, that's our mother's rallying cry. That goes back to Joseph's seed. You're right? Because well, that really goes back to Rachel's descendants, right? But Saul would have known about it because Benjamin and Joseph were the two sons of Rachel. So we already know they were really close, and it was out of some bitterness that Benjamin chose to side with Judah, right? But that's a whole nother thing. We ain't gonna go into that, right? Now let's keep going into these precepts. Now let's go to Numbers 23. Now this goes into some beautiful Messianic prophecy that a lot of people talk about that might have skipped over our people. Now let me find it in here. Let's make sure I got it. Now in the context of this, we see King Balak trying to get Balaam to curse the children of Israel. But every time Balaam tries to curse Israel, the Most High makes his mouth bless them. Y'all want to hear me? Whenever your enemies try to come against you, the Most High take what they meant for evil and turn that thing and work it for you. Y'all better talk to me. Now let's read this a little bit. Now, in Numbers chapter 23, verse 22, it says, and the Most High brought them out of Egypt. Out of Egypt have I called my son. Because that's what Jacob told Joseph. He said, the Most High gonna come get you. He hath, as it were, the strength of a unicorn. This is Balaam's prophecy. It's a messianic prophecy. Surely there is no enchantment against Israel, Jacob, neither is there any divination against Israel. So the Most High makes Balaam's mouth say, you cannot bless this. You cannot curse this. You have to bless this. According to this time, it shall be said of Jacob and Israel, ooh, what has the Most High wrought? Behold, the people shall rise up as a great lion and lift up herself. Now, this is talking about that Judean clan. It's specifying the very prophecy that Jacob put on Judah. But it's also connecting the strength of the unicorn. Well, a lot of y'all like, what? Why is it having both of them? Because in Bethlehem, Judah would be an Ephraimite family. Now, watch this. He shall not lie down. That goes back to he couches low. Watch this now. And drinketh the blood of the slain. Now, in that same blessing, it says his teeth going to be white with milk and his eyes going to be red with blood. Now, watch this. And Balak said, didn't I tell you to curse them? You didn't curse them at all. Now, let's go deeper. Now, let's go to chapter 24.